September 26th, beautiful cool fall morning, 61 degrees. I worked Saturday most of the day on installing what components I could install, being in the holding pattern that we are for certain parts and things coming in. I installed our variator, and it went without a hitch. Like I said in the video, I cut this plate off. Right there's the adjustment, sure thing. That would be very fun to be adjusting without that plate cut off. And reinstalled our new hydraulic line for our variator cylinder. You're here, why not put on new? Those do take a lot of abuse and a lot of overpressuring, because you pull it back and you think it's not there because the little needle in the cab isn't quite lined up or something to that effect. Not sure if I will put those on, because Bodine is going to have to come in and take this off to balance our thrashing cylinder. And installed our hydraulic reservoir as far as I could. The Agco line they sent me was too short by about 2 inches. It's a little frustrating, you know, you have that Agco part, but what do? You just move on. That's life. Things don't always fit on these combines. They were all made exactly the same and completely different at the same time. Our right quadrant is done, except for, of course, tightening our straw chopper belt and installing the air screen here. And this was our new part. I couldn't document this because my camera got pilfered from me for the main business. And this was the $270 part here, just the rear end, and put the new keyways on. I'm going to keep that one for a backup. I doubt I'll ever need it, but it doesn't owe me anything. It can set in the loft. And installed our main thrashing belt. That was a little bit of a chore, but nothing main. And that takes care of this side. And we were working on installing our elevator chains, and we found a spun bearing. Surprise, surprise. Over here, this is our clean grain cross auger. This is a main elevator up into the tank. And so that put us in a small holding pattern there. The machine shop I took it to, they didn't have a long enough lathe bed, and their steady rest wasn't heavy duty enough to use the steady rest, so I had to take it to another machine shop. Once again, breaks of the game. So we're in a holding pattern there, although he said he could get me in this afternoon. So we're slowly making progress, and that's all the updates I did over Saturday that I didn't get to document, unfortunately. This morning I'm going to focus on all the fabrication work that I need. These are the straw walker ends that have been beat in. They've been in several videos. This one's completely broke. Brand new piece of 12 gauge will be going in there. And this one needs some minor stuff, but we like to go all the way on these old Masseys. And then I'm going to move down here and build a custom battery box so that I can fit in a real battery with high cold cranking amps. Finally got set up after half a day. It's 3 o'clock, and got all the pieces fabbed, the battery box made. Got our Millermatic 211 set up, and I had to do some running. The machine shop called me, and they said that they had this done. Built that back up to 1 inch. Did an excellent job at it, and protected my threads on the end, of course. I probably won't try to launch that until I have an assistant with me. And so now I'm going to put our end cap in and put our small fishback straw walker fins in. Got our straw walkers repaired. Like a fellow YouTuber told me, sometimes close to good enough is good enough. This I used 16 gauge on. That way you can get nice and hot, get some heavy duty penetration. get it stuck on there real good. You really want her stuck in. And this one turned out well. And here I used a piece of 12 gauge. A little bit of overkill, but I'd rather have more than I need than not enough. And somebody really did do a number on this at one time. These are supposed to be the correct ends here, and you can see every one of them has these extra, maybe replacements, I'm not sure, but they're the real fat fins. Who knows, maybe they came out of a gleaner, out of a more modern combine, I don't know. But I tried to get back, bent this 16 gauge at a 125-degree angle, and tried to get as close to original as I could, but that isn't the most critical part. Most of your movement is done right here with these spikes, so we will go from there. I continue to be impressed with the little Miller-Matic 211 running right off of a 25-foot extension cord, which is actually run from a 100-foot extension cord out in the hog building, and just does a great job. I've been very impressed with it. Here at the battery box, apologize for the sun glare. It's about 5 o'clock, 5:30. I like to, of course, always paint something when I build it, but I moved it over instead of where the original was. This will make feeding this elevator chain much easier, because I can actually open my door now. Used to, it would only open to there. You have that hanging over your opening. It's the little things in life make a good old combine a little bit better. When you're doing a job like this and you're going to be pulling on something, in this case a hollow tube, you want to use large spacers. These are just 1/4 inch flat stock by 3 inch or 3.5, I forget which. And you do that, and then that spreads your pull out against more of your tube, and then you don't get a cratering effect from years of the weight of the battery and people possibly stepping on it and other forms of abuse. And I forgot to mention, in here I'm going to lay a piece of rubber, and that way if you ever have any stems or whatever that get in there, you pull your battery out, or pummy gets in there, you lift your piece of rubber out, you wash it out, and you're as good as new. The battle continues. I took this out of the 510, cleaned all my threads, cleaned my inner threads out, and just cleaned on this. And set this bracket down. Then I took and I soaked this little wire mesh screen that's soldered closed. That's what that black stuff is in there. And soaked it in PB Blaster, and then blew it out very hard with the air compressor and an air nozzle. And now that's cleaned my screen. Here you can see they really don't plug too bad, but I was there, so why not clean it out. This one just has some little bitty nodules of stuff in it. And my sediment bowl, I don't know if it'll turn up on here. I've got to find it back myself. There it is. Has a crack in it. I'm just guessing. I know you don't want air in a diesel system, of course, and it won't stay primed if it can draw air. So I'm guessing that would probably draw a minute amount of air, and maybe over the winter time you might lose your prime. And who knows, it might work just fine. But I don't know if I dropped this and that small hairline fracture happened or what. But I'm going to take the two and make one. And there you can see whoever had the 550 was running the non-off-road diesel. They were just running your standard road diesel, and it makes that brown algae grow inside the tanks. Of course, you don't ever want that, especially in a diesel. And so now I'm going to install this, and the auto body or the auto parts store said to use pipe dope instead of thread tape, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to install this and let it sit overnight before I start monkeying with it tomorrow morning. Another thing I forgot to mention, I'm using this rubberized gasket I actually made in the shop. Has a slight ring in it, which is a good sign from just having it hand tight. And these old rings, I might be able to get them to seal, but they're old cork and they're hard as a rock. You can definitely see the little line there. I've never had good luck getting these to reseal. This one was on so tight I had to get a pair of channel locks to actually loosen it. I was surprised they didn't crack the bowl or warp the sediment bowl holder there, like on the corn diesel. All right, pipe dope installed. Got her twisted in. Little firm. You don't want too much. You might stress your threads. You are working with old aluminum. And tomorrow I'll have to rerun this line. This is the defective one. Something I did forget to mention is there's a screen right there between the rubber gasket and the actual aluminum housing itself, and the rubber helps to push up and seal that. That was where I found most of my crud and had to soak it in PB and blow it out with an air compressor. This is about how it looked. That is some nasty brown sludge. Mine was actually a little cleaner because this is that algae that grows in the tank. But that is definitely not what you want to be running fuel through. I'm going to do this quickly because I already have the pipe dope on, but this one just seems so much tighter and actually has bigger, thicker, heavier duty fittings than this one. I'm already liking that. Installing the battery, I don't have the rubber strap on yet, just for a little better film quality, but we like to use this battery terminal protector. And I don't know that it really works. It's kind of like a lacquer sealant. You'll see this on your high-end welders and things on your inside terminals. And I also use these little battery terminal protectors. They have an oily film on them, and that's supposed to help against corrosion. Once again, I don't know that it helps, but you're talking, I think, $12 for this and those, and this you'll be able to use on multiple batteries, of course. A good sign, since I overhauled this kit here, or the sediment bowl, I am not getting any drips past our petcock. Now, a trick to getting fuel all the way up to the lifting pump, before you go and string this new fuel line, leave it down low here. I just put 5 gallons in and get fuel coming before you string it the rest of the way. And then you don't have to sit there and pump your finger off on that lifting pump for 30 minutes trying to draw all the air out of this line. Another good thing is right here, the tip of my finger, this is where this defective line was just pouring gas out on the ground, and we are dry as a bone. Nothing on my finger. It was just pouring it right out. It must have been made incorrectly. Even though I left the fuel line low like it is now, I could not get the fuel to come out. Just gravity, and it's just basics. So what I've done in the past, and it's worked well, looks a little redneck, but I was able to pressurize the fuel system by just wadding up a couple shop towels here and a little air chuck, and then you just hold your hand over the fill cap. I was able to shoot just a couple shots of air in, and then fuel started to flow. So now I've shut my petcock off, and it will just keep it in the line just because of gravity. And now I will go ahead and fish it the rest of the way up through the combine, through the counter shaft support, and onto the lifting pump. Fingers crossed and a little bit of prayer. I've got my new line strung. I had a lot of diesel come out because when I took the old line off the lifting pump, the vacuum on the line desisted, and then it just came pouring out of there. Not a big deal. Little sawdust won't hurt anything. I cracked my main injectors on the engine, and hold on, I'll crawl up there real quick. I cracked 4 of these out of the 2, and I didn't want to crack those ones way back up and under there. Probably guarantee I will have to, but now is the moment of truth. You try it and see what we've got. And I'm gonna have to, the guy that had this, whoever had it, was very conscientious about sealing up every little crack and nook and cranny in this combine. He used expandy foam, not really the best, but we'll probably use silicone or something. He's got all of these window brackets up on the top crimped super tight, trying to keep the dust out. So I've got to loosen those up, and we'll be able to open our windows and hopefully close our injectors once she starts to fire. We were close, I mean really close on the first try. Cranked it, and cranked for about 4 seconds and fired, and I mean heavy duty fired, straight to full RPM. That's how you want to start one of these when you're trying to prime it. You don't want to be in low RPM. And I was patting myself on the back. It ran for probably 1 minute. Now, whether that was just fuel in the system and I just pulled as much air as humanly possible into the entire system. Oh, I think I remember what I did. Because I'm a complete donkey, I decided to fire up the combine with the petcock off. Yeehaw! So, honestly, I think I had it the first try, which anybody that's ever tried to prime a diesel, that's your great white buffalo. That's a 1 in a million. But like I said, I am Captain Donkey this morning. So I opened my petcock, cracked 3 of my injectors, pumped, and now we're gonna see if she will fire. Fingers crossed. Probably not. Okay, round 2. I got our battery charger humming. Like I said, cracked 3 injectors and pumped with the lifting pump back there, and full throttle. Fuel shutoffs off. Yeah, we're gonna have to let the battery charge. If that don't light your fire, your wood's wet. She's a beast. This is the unit in idle. Still purring like a kitten. Kind of smoking us out in here. But that might be why they had the muffler turned straight up instead of down the side like it normally is. But let's run up in the cab, see if we can open her up full throttle right quick. Still need to do some adjustments, like my transmission adjustment for my variator belt. Oh yeah! See them sparks fly! I would say, time to shut her down, you two, and get some lunch. A victory celebration.